appears in the story of the Purim story. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to need a volunteer. Would you like to volunteer? Yeah, you. You like to volunteer? Yeah. Okay, stay there, right. I want you to ask me, you got this? I want you to ask, I'll tell you what's up. I want you to ask me what the secret of comedy is, okay?
What's the secret?
Timing. Okay, it's supposed to be funny, the point is that if you look at Purim, one of the universal aspects of it is grammar, is the Purim shiur, people dressing up in silly costumes, and one of the essential aspects of comedy is something called timing. Why? What's timing got to do with comedy? Okay, I mean, you have to understand what the joke is, but it's very clear that in a joke, if you say it too early, it's not funny, and if you leave that pause, that essential pause which makes it funny too long, it's what they call, you telegraph the laugh, and nobody laughs. Timing. The other thing that's essential about comedy is something which, if you think about it, is very strange. If you see a clown tripping on a banana skin, it's somewhat funny. If you see the Rosh Hashiva tripping on a banana skin, especially if it's your Rosh Hashiva, that's really funny. Why? The answer is that comedy relies on something called incongruity, absurdity. Now I want to put forward an idea today that there are really two kinds of comedy. There's a comedy which is life-enforcing, which plugs into something very deep in our psyches, in our neshamas, and there's an anti-comedy. I remember when I was living in LA, we used to say the best job in Southern California is to be a divorce lawyer, and the second best job is to be a shrink. And I knew a comedian there who used to say after people, he got people guffawing, people laughing their heads off. He said, what you're laughing at is not comedy, it's ridicule. There's a big difference between comedy and ridicule. Comedy requires, we'll see, a degree of love for your fellow man, an appreciation of life. Ridicule is the air that Amalek breathes. Nihilism. That's one thing I want to discuss. First of all, I want to start off with a joke. I hope you'll find it funny. If not, that's okay. There was a famous actor-manager called Sir Donald Wolfett. Who's English here? So you've all heard of Sir Donald Wolfett, right? No, of course not. Sir Donald Wolfett, to plug you in, back in the days before television, yes, there were days before television. Back in the days before television, there were things called plays, and there were things called traveling companies of actors who would tour the provinces. They do all, village halls and Manchester and Liverpool and Leeds, and they go everywhere. And basically, these plays were put on by somebody called an actor-manager. Now, an actor-manager was basically, he was the star of the show, but he was also the person who footed the bill, paid the actors, ran the whole thing. He was like a one-man show. Now, the last of the great so-called actor-managers was somebody called Donald Wolfett. And if you ever saw a movie, I think his last appearance in a movie was Lawrence of Arabia. You remember that? Nobody's heard of Lawrence of Arabia. I know it's time to give up. Okay, there was a movie many, many years ago, so somebody remembers Lawrence of Arabia. Okay. Anyway, Donald Wolfett was lying on his deathbed, and one of his young actors came over to him and said, Sir Donald, after a life so full of success, dying must be difficult. And he said, dying is easy. Comedy is difficult. Comedy is difficult. Comedy, because even though I gave you two parameters, we don't really understand. There's something about comedy which is... I'll give you an example. Comedy has to be that it's the least expected thing you think you're going to hear. Here's a classic Jewish joke. Two two Jews freezing in Russia in the middle of the winter. Moshe and Chaim. Chaim, close the window. It's cold outside. Moshe, and if I close the window, it should be warm outside. It didn't expect it. It came from, that wasn't what he wanted to hear. Let's see. Let's go back. Chazal teaches that something which is mentioned, the first time it's mentioned in the Torah HaKadosha, teaches us something about the essence of that particular thing. Where's the first time we see laughter in the Torah? Vayitzar. Excellent. Now, if you think about it, what was so funny? The first mention of laughter in the Torah is the birth of Yitzhak. And what's funny about it is that Abraham and Sarah heard that we're going to have a child at the age, Abraham at the age of 100, Sarah at the age of 90, after she never had that she was barren all her life. And not that she was barren, because our teachers, she didn't even have a base record. She didn't have a womb. There's something so absurd, something completely unexpected. They both laughed. And if you look closer at the name of Yitzhak, Chazal teaches that we can rearrange the name of Yitzhak into what? Yitzhak, correct, but even more than that. Somebody said it. Ketz Chai. Ketz Chai. What's so funny about that? Because Yitzhak, if you think about it, was already there on the Mizbeach, and according to the Midrash, he actually, his soul left his body, and he experienced, that was the first experience of Tchias HaMesim, and that's the bracha of Yitzhak that we say, the second bracha in Shemona Esrei. Nothing is more absurd, nothing is more a situation of hippuch, of a complete turnabout, and I hope you see where this is going, than the story of Yitzhak. On the surface of it, it's a terrible tragedy. That's Avram's only son, about to lose his life. The whole future of the Jewish people, about to come to an end there with a knife on the Mizbeach. And in a split second, it turns around. Somebody once said, I don't know who it was, but the only difference between tragedy and comedy, we're talking about real tragedy and real comedy, is the last scene. A really good comedy, if you think about it, is everything builds up to a point where you think this is going to be the most terrible thing in the world, and then all of a sudden it flips on its head. And it becomes the relief that a person feels when he's in such danger, where this whole, I'm trying to think of an example of this, but if you think of a really good comedy, I'm not talking about the ridicule, not the kind of buffoonery that passes as comedy today, but in the classic sense, if you look at, and unfortunately we're going to have to look to the Greeks for this because they invented all this stuff. But if you look at the classical tragedies and the classical comedies of the Greeks, they all work on that pattern. A tragedy pans out and what you think is going to happen, happens. And the comedy is where, at the last minute, the 8th Cavalry arrive, or the 9th Cavalry, or both of them. Or the hero manages to tear the heroine away from the railway lines just as the locomotive is about to run over her neck. The difference between tragedy and comedy is the ending. And of course in the Purim story and the story of Yitzhak, that's a classic comedy. Amazing. The Adar says, Oz Yimole Schokina. The tchuna of laughter. Let's take an example. Let's say you're a Martian. Excuse me. You're a Martian, and of course, as you know, Martians are self-replicating single-cell organisms. They don't have parents, they don't know what parents are. And as a Martian, you have a very powerful optical telescope. And you have this telescope trained on this place somewhere called Jerusalem, and on a place called Hadassah in Karen, where there's this thing that humans have called a hospital. And in this hospital, there's this thing called a delivery room, and you're not quite sure what this is. But you see that there's this female earthling writhing around in the most terrible, terrible agony. And all these male earthlings are standing around with these white coats looking at her, and nobody can do absolutely anything for her. And the whole thing looks like the most terrible situation. Help this poor woman! And in a split second, everything turns from tragedy to joy. Ichvasa the Mashiach, the birth pangs of Mashiach. Mashiach comes in this way, in a way of hippuch. A hippuch whereby things are looking so terrible. And then suddenly, in a split second, everything is turned into joy. That's why it's called the birth. Why it's called the birth pangs of Mashiach. Oz Yemole Schok Pino. The schok, the yitzchak, that feeling of laughter is when suddenly everything becomes clear, just in the story of Purim. Haman has managed to denounce the Jewish people. The letters have been sent out in all the languages of the Persian Empire. And in a split second, the Nefachu, Hippuch, Esther denounces Haman, and the body of Haman is hung on that exact same gallows that he erected for Mordechai. And that tchuna is the tchuna of Schok. The Sefer Yetzirah says that the 12 months of the year correspond to the 12 Shvatim, the 12 Mazalot, the 12 specific organs in the body, the 12 lines of a cube. If you take a cube, you'll see there are actually 12 lines, 12 intersections. And also what's called the 12 powers of the soul. For example, Nisan is Dibur, the power of speech. To say that we only have two specific Dioraisa mitzvahs anymore. One, of course, is eating the matzah, and the other is sipur, the mouth, to tell. The Arizal says that Pesach can also be read as Pesach, the mouth that speaks. If you look at the story of the Yetzias Mitzrayim, you see the Jews never spoke, they never davened. The koyach of Dibur was in Golus. It says tza'ak, they screamed, they shouted, but the koyach of Dibur, the koyach of Nisan, was in Golus. And that's why to rebuild that koyach of Dibur, and of course the ultimate koyach of Dibur is in the Torah. To rebuild that, they have to go to a place called the Midbar, which is Mid Dibur, a place which is totally separated from Dibur, so the koyach of Dibur can be literally rebuilt from the ground up. Paro can be read as Pe'ra, literally the bad mouth. And so we see that the Tammuz is the koyach of Riyah, spies, Maktim Peh La'ayin, Av is Shmiya. The koyach, the human capability, the characteristic that a human being is capable of, and only a human being, there are only two people, there are only two entities that have this koyach of Adar, which is the koyach of Schok, laughter. Adar is Schok. And that's what connects us ultimately to Hashem. Because it says, Yoshev B'Shamayim Yischak. Kaviyachol, it's only us and Hashem who has this power. As they say, the old Yiddish joke, man tracht and God lacht. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your future, your plans. And this power of Schok is, as we said, the basis of comedy is this idea of overturn, of hippuch, of something, of the tragedy becoming a comedy. Now, I'm going to do this a slightly different way than I've got here. David HaMelech, Oz Yamola Esod Pinu. Where did David HaMelech begin? In a very strange place, in Lot, Moab, right? The incestuous union. Of course, the Torah doesn't ascribe any blame to the daughters of Lot. But the Maisa is a very strange place for the David, Melech Israel. He is the Melech. Moab, Gematria 49, Moab contains within it the Mentes Sharituma. Why is it that the king, David Melech Israel, has to come from there? The Jewish concept of a king is very different from the secular concept. The Torah refers to Avimelech as Achad Ha'am. The concept of kingship in the Torah is that he is Miyached et Ha'am. And to be Miyached et Ha'am, to unify the Am, he has to be able to reach every single stratum of the nation. A king represents, he is the Am in persona. And therefore he has to come from the very depth, so to speak. He has to be able to reach that Mentes Sharitume as well. The Pasuk says, V'yafoch es ha'arim ha'el v'eskol ha'kikar v'eskol yoshvei ha'arim v'tzemach ha'adam ha'am. Hashem, God telling about Sodom, overturned these cities and the entire area and all the inhabitants of the cities and the vegetation of the soil. Gracious Yutes Chaf Hey. Let's look at this passage a second. V'yafoch es ha'arim, Hashem overturned the cities, ha'el, these cities. V'eskol ha'kikar, and all the plain. V'eskol yoshvei ha'arim, v'tzemach ha'adamah, and the vegetation. Hello. Why is that's like the peak of this particular exposition? Everything gets overturned and the veggies. What's going on here? Mashiach is known as Tzemach Tzedek, which is impossible to translate into English because it comes out something like the righteous sprout, so we won't translate it. Tzemach Tzedek. Why is Mashiach referred to as a tzemach? Anybody here good at horticultural culture? Anybody likes gardening? No? Oh, he's such a good bacher. Now, if you've ever taken a seed and you've tried to grow something, what happens? You put the seed in the ground and it starts to grow, right? No. You know what happens? It rots. It rots and it rots and it becomes more and more disgusting until it gets to a point where suddenly there's an enormous hippuch. Everything flips on its head. David HaMelech, who comes from Sodom, the darkest, the most tumadik in the place, contains with him as tzemach ha'adamah, this koyach of hippuch, which will be the laughter of realization when Mashiach comes. Suddenly everything will fit into place and all the agony of the Jewish people. To that extent that we've suffered, we will experience that joy, and that can only come through hippuch. Just like that birth scene in Hadassah and Keren. That's the way Mashiach comes. Mashiach comes in hippuch. The Maharal says that the number which connotes this world, Olam Haba, is 7. There are 7 notes in the diatonic scale. There are 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 days in most weeks. 7. Now, if you take 7 and you want to make it the most 7 that it could be, what would you do? You times it by itself. You extrapolate 7 to the maximum 7 can be, that's 49. 49, there are only 49 Sharitum. And when it gets to that 49th level, it can't go anywhere. It has to flip. It has to go up to the top. And that's, my friends, comedy. That's the story of Purim. We spoke at the beginning about 2 kinds of comedy. Ozimale Stok Pinu is one of those kinds of comedy. It's a positive, if you like. The realization, suddenly you see Tchias HaMesim from nowhere. You see a world which is getting darker and darker, more and more tumadik, more and more difficult. I'm a father, I understand this. I don't know what your world will be like, and Hashem should all give us prayer. It's very difficult to bring up kids nowadays. You have to give them a tremendous love of Torah. You have to be an example. You know, my father used to say, don't do as I do as I tell you is poor chinuch. You have to be examples. But it's difficult. Despite of all of the efforts we make, things seem to get more and more difficult, more and more dark, more and more gashmi, more and more secular. And the hope that we have is that's the way Mashiach comes. Just when the night seems to be darkest, that's when the light spot comes forth. Just before the dawn. And of course, when that dawn comes, it'll be that much brighter. By Erev, by Boker. Have you ever thought that's a rather strange way to create the world? Why would you start with night? I mean, if you were God, well, how would you create the world? Morning, Boker, existence, Mashu, Yesh. No, because when the Yesh comes from Ayin, when the light comes from darkness, the light is that much brighter. I heard a story once about a guy who I think it's a true story. The story is third hand. So second-hand stories, third hand isn't bad. I had a chavrusa who this happened to a chavrusa of his, and this guy apparently he was in the south of Israel somewhere, in one of these kind of settlement towns, totally built of reinforced concrete that they've thrown up in about 5 minutes. And there's all kinds of people there. You know, there's Sfardim and Ashkenazim and Chilonim and everything, but you know, it's Simchas Torah. And what do you do on Simchas Torah? Everybody goes to shul. Everybody. And they're all jumping around, and then suddenly everything stops. And there's an old fellow he sees who goes behind the Aron HaKodesh, and he pulls out this plank about yay long. He takes it, he puts it in the middle of the shul, and very slowly he starts to walk around this plank. Round and round and round. Total silence. The whole shul's gone quiet. And then he's joined by another elderly gentleman, and another. And these three guys walk in total silence for about 2 minutes around this plank. And then the first guy who put the plank down picks it up, puts it back down there, and everything returns to normal, shouting and it's like nothing happened. So this friend of mine went up to this guy who pulled out the plank. He said, what happened? What was all that about? He said, me and these other two guys, we were in Buchenwald. And by a miracle, a few days before Simchas Torah, they managed to smuggle a small Sefer Torah into the camp. And we were terrified. Because to be caught with the Sefer Torah was instant death. We didn't know what to do with it. So we pulled up one of the floorboards and we hid the Sefer Torah under the floorboards. And on Simchas Torah, we were too terrified to take it out and too terrified to make any kind of sound. So we walked round and round that plank under which the Sefer Torah was hidden in total silence. My Simchas Torah is when I remember that Simchas Torah in Buchenwald. The light can only come, true light, the true radiance of the light can only be expressed in Vayihi Erev Vayihi. We spoke before about the comedy of Hippuch, the comedy of sudden realization, Ketz Chai, Yitzchak, the Nahafuchu, overturned. But there's another comedy. There's a dark comedy. The comedy is, my friend in Los Angeles said, the comedy of ridicule. Let's talk about that for a comedy is there, what you're laughing at is ridicule. Ridicule is the comedy of Amalek. Ridicule says, nothing's important. Life is absurd. There's no rhyme, leis din, leis dayan. It's absurd. Rabbi Noach Weinberg, Zechet Tzaddik Bracha, once said that the opposite of happiness is not unhappiness, it's apathy. Happiness, sometimes a person, as we said before, when he moves from darkness into light, it's a positive experience. Happiness is the knowledge, he said, that things are important, be'etzem, and that I have a connection to them. This is what makes a person happy, be'etzem. Things are important, and I have a connection to that chashivas. Apathy is the reverse. Nothing matters, why get out of bed? Apathy is the air that ridicule breathes. Laced in, laced I am. Life is a joke, no more than a dark comedy. Let's talk about the Molech for a little while. I remember a book, I think it was by Adar, and on the cover of this book there was this road. And if you know anything about photography, if you have a very long telephoto lens, the perspective gets very, very squashed. It was one of these roads probably out there in the Midwest somewhere where it's just completely straight for, who knows how far. And it just goes up a little bit, down a little bit, but it's straight, it's dead straight. This road looks like this road must go on forever. Stay with me. When you move in a straight line, every step in that straight line is both a product of the step before it and a prediction of the step that's to come. A straight line encompasses a sense of where you've come from and purpose, where you're going to. Every step, every moment in that straight line, so to speak, demands that next step. It's a product of every step that came before, and it's a prediction of its ultimate end. And therefore, by its very nature, a straight line must go on forever. Unless, of course, something comes from the outside and interposes itself. But without outside intervention, without anything opposing it, a straight line goes on and on forever. What happens when that straight line deviates, when it moves to the side? A line that twists and turns eventually must falter and end, because its own deviance spells its eventual demise. Something which goes atzida, to the side, has lost its connection to what came before it, and it's no longer an expression of a continuum. Every move, every second in a line which is not straight has got nothing to do with what came before and nothing to do with what will come after. It expresses neither history nor purpose. It's a cold, frozen moment among another million-odd frozen moments. When the line is twisted, nothing has any connection to anything else. Everything is random. There's no purpose. There's no beginning, no end. The Gemara teaches us, Yaakov Avinu lo mes. Yaakov is in shiur, the straight line. Something which is straight, by definition, will never end. The letters of Amalek can be rearranged into me'ukal, twisted, deviant. Amalek takes purpose, takes destination, takes history, and freezes every single moment as being completely disconnected to anything else. Mishenichnas Adar Amarbim b'simcha. What is simcha? Gemara in Sukkah says that there's a measurement called a tefach sameach, or a tefach tzochek, which literally means a happy or a laughing tefach. Now, what is a tefach tzochek, tefach sameach? It's a tefach, it's a hand's breadth, but it's a little bit more. A little bit more. Why did Chazal give it this strange title? Why did they call it, I don't know, Tefach Gadol, Maxi Tefach in modern Hebrew. Why? What was the idea of Tefach Sameach? The Goyish world understands that happiness means getting out of it. That's the expression, you get out of it. The Jewish world understands that Simcha means I expand my horizons without losing who I am. I'm still a Tefach, but I grew. That's Simcha. When a person gets married, he sees himself as not just himself anymore. He sees himself as his wife as well. When he has children, that's an even bigger Simcha. He expands. True Simcha is being able to connect everything in that line, everything in my life. The word in Hebrew for Gadol, great, Adar, comes from the Pasuk, Gad, Gedud, Yegudena. Gad is a marching troop. The essence of Gadlus is being able to take every single second in your life and stitch it together. The opposite of Gadol is Katan. Katan is the same word actually in Aramaic, and we have it in English too. Kat, Katua. A Katan is somebody who's small, a baby for example. You give a baby a sweetie. Oh, the world is the most wonderful place in the world. You take it away from him, tragedy, Holocaust. A baby cannot see more than each individual second, and that is the world of Amalek. That is the world that is the Weltanschauung, which is what is being tried to be put into our minds by the descendants of Amalek to this day. Go for it. Get out of it. They stand, there's just this moment. Right? As Nike once put it, just do it. Jude says, whenever it says just do it, just think about it. My Rebbe told me his grandmother once said when she saw them running out of the house, of course this was all in Yiddish, she said, where are you running to? She said, so they answered back, the kids said, we're running to do a mitzvah. She said, to a mitzvah you don't run. Anytime you're running to do something, just check where you're running to. Simcha. Things that make a person feel expanded. Katan, katua, kat, every single second is divorced from what came before and what will follow. Small-mindedness, katnas amor. Gadlus. If you've ever met a modern gadol, I'm sure you've all had that opportunity, one of the things that always impresses me is that nothing goes at tzibur. Everything that the modern gadol does is focus. It's like that Gad Gedud Yegudena. Everything is going in a straight line. Everything is Yeshurun. Everything he's doing, lo mes. Because it's that straight line which embodies Simcha. Amalek spells, as we said, Mukal. It's the twisted line. And Simcha is the expansion of our consciousness, that we get into it. We expand our view of the world. To Avram Avinu, the entire world was part of himself. I want to move on to something which is any questions on this before we move on? Music. Talk about David HaMelech. What time we finished? About 1:10 something like that. Music is part of Purim. It's not really an essential part of Purim, but I want to try and link the idea of music into the ideas we've been speaking about. As we said, David HaMelech is David Melech Israel. He contains within him Mentes Shari Tuma as well. He connects the top to the bottom. That's the tzemach tzedek, which springs from death to life. And I was thinking about music, that David HaMelech is called Naim Zemirot Yisrael. I once asked with Moshe Shapiro Zeichat HaBarucha, who many of these ideas that I've said today I heard from him. I can't say they're his ideas because his ideas were very deep. But whatever I gleaned on the surface of his words, I asked him once, what did the music in the Beis HaMikdash sound like? And he said it probably sounded most like classical music. Why? Because if you think about it, when the Romans came along, they captured the Malchus. It says one of the reasons why Edom, the simon of Edom is the pig, is the Daba'ache, is because the word Chazir contains within it the word Machzir, that eventually Edom will return the Malchus to Klal Yisrael. Bob will snatch the Malchus from us, or Samadai, Yavam, Edom, and eventually they will be the ones to be Machzir. So they captured the Malchus. Now, if I'm right, David Melech Yisrael is Naim Zemirot Yisrael. Therefore, music is a chelek in Malchus. It comes along with the Malchus. It's part of Malchus. And therefore, when they captured the Malchus, they also captured the music. Classical music finds its roots in the plain chant of the Catholic Church. If you've ever heard any Christian liturgical music, it always returns to the tonic note, the do. It always da 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 da. It always comes back to this root note, da 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 da. Western music always comes back to the root note. Now, if you look at the history of music, it's very interesting because that idea starts off in the church, and let's assume that the music, the song of the Levim, the music of the Beis HaMikdash, which is the chelek of the Malchus, was captured by the Romans. And of course, as we know, the Romans become the Holy Roman Empire, which is my history teacher once told me was neither a Holy Roman nor an empire. And of course, from the Holy Roman Empire comes the Catholic Church and comes the secular society of today. That's all Esau. That's the line of Esau, Edom. So if we're right about that, then that music, if you follow the development of that music, then you'll see when you get to the time of Bach, for example, the tonic music, that returning da 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 da, was going back to the note, and root note gets much more complicated. And in fact, in the times of Bach, musicians, composers were employed by nobles to be their music writer, and they would be called upon instantly to come up with this incredibly complex fugue or a counterpoint. If you've heard any 15th century, 16th century music, very complicated, but it always goes back to that root note, the do. Something happened around the turn of the century where the rules of composition were overthrown completely. Something called 12-tone music was introduced. Now, in the diatonic scale, there are basically 7 notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? Now, if you take the white notes on the piano, that's what the diatonic scale is. The chromatic scale is a scale where you use all 13 notes, all the notes on the piano, the black and the white ones. Once you do that, you've basically dethroned do. There's no do anymore. Because no note goes, there's no such thing as an interval that pulls you back to the tonic. If you know anything about music, you'll understand what I'm saying, and if you don't, I'll try to make it clear. Once the rules of composition, which Bach and all the composers up till basically the beginning of the 20th century were overthrown, it just opened a world of chaos, musically. And if you, for example, there was a guy called John Cage, I think his name was, who started to get even more experimental. Once you threw out the rules of composition, anything could be music. He used to have people jumping up and down with microphones strapped to them. His most famous composition is something called 4 minutes and 22 seconds, which basically what happens is the pianist walks up to the piano, flips up his tails, sits down, opens up the lid of the piano, sits there for 4 minutes and 22 seconds, closes the keyboard and gets up and leaves. They'd unleashed the genie on the world. And if you look at what was going on in the world of art around the same time, you'll see that the same thing was happening in art. The rules of composition, the rules of perspective, everything got thrown out. Abstract art. So you have abstraction in music, you have abstraction in art, and all of this was around the time that European people, Yamach Shalom Zichron, were composing the darkest concerto ever that mankind had played in Germany. They all happened around the same time. Rav Shlomo Wolber, once said, that the only reason kings exist was to give us the most distant whisper of the Melech Malchei Amlochim. And he said that while in general mankind believed in a God, so Hashem presented us a dugma, a Zer Anpin, the most tiny example of the Melech Malchei Amlochim. When mankind turned away from generally in a belief in God, so therefore Hashem took away the power of kings. Until nowadays, kings, certainly in England and many places, they're just tourist attractions. Interestingly enough, probably, so when Yiras Shamayim generally in the world disappears, these things all go together. Do, what does it mean there's a do? There's a key note. There's a note to which all of the other notes, so to speak, have to bow their head. Everything returns to the do. Everything returns to the one. When mankind turns to atheism, there's no do. There's no root note. There's no root to anything. A lion is a little cow. You can pick this note, you can pick that note, you can put this color here, you can put this color here, you can do a blow here, you can sit in silence, you can kill an entire nation. Leist I am, leist in. There's no do anymore. So if you look at the history of the arts and music, you'll see the same progress towards nihilism. And we'll end with this. Another idea which we can take from David HaMelech. If you look at music, there's an interesting idea. It says in the Svarim that the root of music is the Morish Chora. Morish Chora means black bile. In the ancient world, they understood that a person was governed by certain humors. So the black bile, the bile is the place of depression. I mean, nowadays we have more sophisticated names, but basically our understanding is really not that much more advanced. We just give these things different names. Atoms get smaller and smaller, particles get smaller and smaller, but basically the mystery of the universe, of the center of things, stays as hidden as it always was. Morish Chora, music comes from depression. Why? And if you look at music itself, music is very interesting because there's something in music called the scale. Scale comes from the Latin word, Italian word scala, which means a ladder. A ladder always connects the top to the bottom. There's no ladder in the world that goes halfway up and stops. A ladder has to connect the top to the bottom, by definition. Music is a scale. And if you look at the note itself, if you take, for example, a string bass, let's say, a big double bass, you can see it easy. When you pluck a note, the string doesn't do this. It does this. Meaning, the positive vibration, positive so to speak, and the negative are equal and opposite. If you look at the cathode ray tube and you plug into it a tone, you'll see it does this, a sine wave. This is 0, this is whatever it is plus. Wherever it goes plus, it goes minus. The koyach of David HaMelech, the koyach of Nine Zmiris Yisrael, the koyach of music is it can connect the bottom to the top. It can be mahapech. Why does music have the power to be able to turn a person's mood like that? To be mahapech the mood of the person. Because music, so to speak, says to us, I understand. I've been there. I know what it's like. I understand. I'm with you. I empathize. If we have to sum it all up, really that's the message of Purim. All of us personally in our lives, we experience moments of depression. If there's anybody in this room who never felt slightly depressed, please come and see me afterwards. I'd love to know how you did it. We all know what it means to have a bad day. Hashem, where are you? What's going on here? I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, why did this happen? Or why aren't I succeeding in this? Or why can't I learn properly? Or why? I don't feel good. I don't feel happy. I don't feel connected. The message of Purim is Hippuch. It's Mashiach in our own lives. That every time that you get down to that black hole in your neshama, and we all know it's there, you have to realize Hashem is there with us. He's in that Golus with us. And in a split second, He can turn it all into joy. Our tefillah, our hope, our bracha, is very soon, you should see the day when everything in this world will be revealed. Ozim Alei Tzchapim.